Okay, so over the past few weeks, I've released a few videos about the 60th anniversary, covering announcements from returning actors to new actors, set photos, leaked plot lines, and a number of other leaks. So in this video, I'm just going to compile all the information I've given you so far, and if you stick around to the end of the video, I've also got some new information that I haven't yet talked about. So here's everything we know about the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. So obviously the first announcement we got in regards to Russell T Davies' second era was Ncuti Gatwa being announced as the 14th Doctor. I've already made a whole reaction video on this, which you can watch if you want to. I'm not going to get too deep into it in this video. Now personally, I'm not entirely sure whether Ncuti is going to be in the 60th anniversary for reasons I'll get into later, but I do think it's maybe possible that he'll show up maybe like at the end or for at least a brief cameo like Capaldi did in the 50th anniversary. Now the second announcement we got was David Tennant and Catherine Tate were officially announced as coming back to the show, with Russell T Davies saying they're back and it looks impossible. First we announced a new Doctor, then an old Doctor, along with the wonderful Donna. What on earth is happening? Maybe this is a missing story, or a parallel world, or a dream, or a trick, or a flashback. The only thing I confirm is that it's going to be spectacular, as two of our greatest stars reunite for the battle of a lifetime. Now at first I just assumed we were going to be meeting Ten and Donna at some point during Series 4 again, but with a lot of the set photos and announcements that have come out since then, that doesn't appear to be the case, and I'll be getting into that later on in the video. Now the third official announcement we got is that Yasmin Finney from Heartstopper is going to be playing a character called Rose. Now a lot of people were worried and even angry, thinking that they're recasting Rose Tyler, and a lot of people also thought that this might be an alternate universe version of Rose, but I don't think that's the case, and once again I'm going to get into that later on in the video. Now I personally think that she's going to be the main companion of the 60th anniversary special, not Donna, and I'm 50-50 on whether she's going to be Ncuti's companion for when he takes over as the Doctor or not. On one hand, I think it's possible. It'd be weird that they just have her in just the 60th, but at the same time I find it kind of weird if the next companion is going to be called Rose. So those are all the official announcements that we've been given by the BBC, but over the past couple of weeks there's also been some set photos from the filming of the 60th that have appeared on Twitter and other places. In these set photos we see David Tennant's Doctor with a different costume to what we've ever seen him wearing before in his era of the show, as well as a new sonic screwdriver, and he's also using Jodie's TARDIS. We've also seen the return of Donna and also her family, that being her husband Sean, her mum Sylvia, and her granddad Wilf. Now Wilf is my favourite character, so I'm very happy to see that he's coming back. He might not be in it for that long, it seems, but that's perfectly justified considering Bernard Cribbins is, I think, 93 years old. As well as this, it seems like the new character Rose might be Donna and Sean's daughter. So some people have speculated that maybe she's named her daughter Rose just from that name being in her subconscious, which I think is very plausible because it seems that Donna still doesn't have her memories back yet, which I will get into later on. So at first, with the Doctor's different costume and TARDIS and Sonic, and with Donna's family clearly being a lot further along than it was when we last saw it, I thought at first that this would just be an alternate timeline where Ten didn't actually regenerate and he's just changed up his look a bit and got a new Sonic and a new TARDIS. However, we've had descriptions from people that were on set of scenes that were being filmed which kind of contradict that theory. Davey Boy on Twitter describes what went down during the night shoot. The Doctor bumps into a woman carrying a tower of boxes that covers her face. He helps her with them by removing a few of them. As he removes them, it's revealed to be Donna. The Doctor puts the boxes back in the tower and tries to walk away. Something that I can't hear in the footage makes him turn back around. Donna shouts for Rose, which confuses the Doctor, and then Donna's daughter Rose runs up to them. The Doctor shakes hands with Rose as Donna sorts out the boxes in the background. The on-set direction suggests a spaceship then flies overhead and crashes nearby, which Donna doesn't see, presumably to keep up the joke that Donna keeps missing these things. The Doctor scans the ship with the new Sonic. Sean Temple, Donna's husband, arrives in a taxi, calls for Rose, but the Doctor runs to the taxi and uses it for himself. He says Alon Z as he gets inside. So from this description, it seems that this isn't an alternate timeline where Donna just carried on travelling with the Doctor and didn't get her memories wiped, because this suggests that her memories were wiped and the Doctor's trying to avoid her. So this seems to suggest that maybe Jodie Whittaker will regenerate into David Tennant, making him the 14th Doctor, or at least 13.5, or I guess in a way degenerating into him. He also then happens to immediately bump into Donna. I guess we'll see how that works out. Now as well as this, Rachel Talalay, who directed a lot of episodes during the Capaldi era of the show, appears to be directing the 60th and has even somewhat confirmed it herself, although this announcement wasn't as official as the BBC ones, which I think is great because Rachel Talalay did some great directing in Capaldi's era of the show. And before these announcements were made, Rachel Talalay posted a picture of her and Matt Lucas, which has made some people speculate that maybe Matt Lucas is coming back as Nardole in the 60th. I personally think this is just a coincidence. I don't see where Nardole would fit into place with this. However, with that being said, people have also allegedly spotted Peter Capaldi near the filming of the 60th, which makes them believe that maybe Capaldi is coming back, which I guess would make it a lot more likely that Matt Lucas would also be coming back. However, this could also just just be a coincidence as well. We haven't had any pictures of him officially on set or anything like that yet, but you never know, we might get some of them in the future. As well as this, it's been alleged that Unit will be coming back for the 60th, although no actual official images have been seen of this. As I was editing this video, there has now been some leaked set images of Unit, so we've got to look at what they look like now, and obviously confirmation that they are going to be in the 60th. Personally, I don't mind their new look. I do think they're a little bit too armored. It may only be the soldiers that are like that. Some of the other Unit characters probably aren't going to be heavily armored like these soldiers are, but overall I don't mind how they look. They look fine. They look different to before. I do kind of miss the red hats, although maybe the red berets or whatever it is that they have might come back. I don't think we saw them in the images, but yeah, Unit is definitely coming back, and we've seen what they look like. Now, as well as all these set images, there was a Reddit leak that a lot of people have been intrigued by recently. This Reddit leak from Bad Wolf 3 reads, "A friend of mine works at Bad Wolf and has let slip some details about the upcoming 60th anniversary plans. This is all 100% accurate, so if you want to avoid spoilers, don't click below. David Tennant and Catherine Tate are back for 3 specials after Jodie regenerates into him on a cliff top. 3 stories are linked by the Doctor working out why he got his old face back and why he runs into Donna again after all these years. Unit are back for the first episode. It's a simple alien invasion story with the main emphasis on the Doctor reuniting with Donna again after 15 years for her. Sylvia and Sean return. Wolf is mentioned, but I don't know if he appears in it. Obviously, we now know that he is at least in it for some point. Donna also has a daughter called Rose. Rachel Talalay also directs the first special. Oh, and a classic companion returns in the final special, but I don't want to ruin that surprise. Now, on first glance, this does just kind of look like they're putting the pieces together from what we've seen in set pictures, but this Reddit leak was actually posted before filming began, and it very accurately describes what we've seen on set and even with the official announcements so far. So I think it's very possible that this leak is accurate, and if it is, it gives us a little bit more information on what we might see in this episode, or these 3 specials, as it says here, with hints to Jodie's regeneration, being on a cliff top, a story focusing on why the Doctor has got his old face back, and even a classic companion apparently returning in the final special of these 3. Now, with these allegedly being 3 specials instead of just 1, the next question we have to ask ourselves is, when are they going to be released? So there's been a lot of speculation that this first special might be a Christmas special. The first hint of this was that the extras were allegedly dressed up in winter coats, which for me personally doesn't really prove anything because the 60th anniversary would take place in November, which is basically winter. But another hint of this is that Donna's first scene, or what seems to be her first scene, is her carrying boxes, which could be something to do with Christmas shopping. As well as this, there is what appear to be Christmas lights that were spotted on set, and Jude, aka Pig and Tea Break, alleged that somebody told them that they were filming a Christmas special. And for me personally, Jude is quite a reputable source. I don't see him lying about anything, which for me suggests it's going to be the first of the 3 specials to celebrate the 60th, with the final special likely being on the 23rd of November 2023. So, Doctor Who and the Star Beast was a 4th Doctor comic book story published in Doctor Who magazine in the 1980s, which saw Beep the Meep, a part of the Meep race, which were once a happy and advanced race of aliens who were turned into a conquering savage beast by black sun radiation, crash his ship in Black Castle. The 4th Doctor then unknowingly led the Wrath Warriors, who are an intergalactic police force biologically constructed from the 5 strongest species in the Wrath Galaxy, specifically to deal with Meeps, to Beep's ship. So this comic book story is quite obscure, at least for most casual Doctor Who fans. I hadn't really heard of it. I think I'd maybe seen an image of Beep the Meep at some point, and that's about as much I knew about it. And it's also a pretty wacky one. I mean, just look at what Beep the Meep looks like. He's a cute little bunny rabbit looking creature, but he's actually a savage alien. And so yeah, the general story is Beep the Meep crashes on Earth, and the Wrath Warriors, which are basically space police, are trying to find him. And these new set photos that have been released lend a lot of credence to the theory that this is what 60th anniversary, or at least this one episode, this one special, is going to be about. So the first hint of this story being the Star Beast story is that the insectoid creatures that we've seen set leaks of look very similar to the Wrath Warriors. They're both insectoid-like creatures. They're quite tall. They both have red eyes, which for the Wrath Warriors gives them their infrared night vision. And from one of the set videos, they appear to be bulletproof, which the Wrath Warriors have been told to have very tough skin, so I assume they are meant to be bulletproof. The second hint of this story being the 60th anniversary is this set photo and video of a bunny rabbit looking creature, which looks very similar to Beep the Meep. Now, this footage is quite low res, but it does seem very similar to Beep the Meep, but I personally do think this looks quite a lot like Beep the Meep. The third hint of this theory could be true is that we've also seen an escape pod, or UFO, on some of the leaked set images, which looks like it could very well be Beep the Meep's escape pod or ship. And there was also a description of a scene being filmed on Twitter by Davey Boy, which I went into more detail on in my other 60th anniversary leaked videos, which describes the Doctor scanning a ship which then crashes nearby. So this very well could be relating to the same escape pod or ship, which could be Beep the Meep's ship. Now, the final bit of evidence for me which suggests that this could very well be the case is that during the RTD era, Russell T Davies liked adapting previous expanded media stories from Doctor Who. For example, my favourite Doctor Who story, Human Nature, Family of Blood, was adapted from a Virgin New Adventures story during the Wilderness years, and the Series 1 story Dalek was adapted from a Big Finish story, Jubilee. So especially with Russell in control, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they will be adapting a previous Doctor Who story from expanded media, especially one as obscure as this comic from the 80s. So with all the evidence out of the way, here's how I think it's going to go down. David Tennant's degenerated or 14th incarnation of the Doctor is going to bump into Donna and her family in a way that I've described in my previous video. You will then see Beep the Meep's ship or escape pod crash in the distance. The Doctor will then go to investigate the pod, which will be empty, and he will likely see Unit investigating the pod there too. The Wrath Warriors will also land on Earth, attempting to find Beep the Meep. Unit will likely deem the Wrath Warriors as a threat and try to shoot at them, but with the Wrath Warriors being bulletproof, this doesn't prove successful, and I assume some Unit soldiers will probably get killed by them. At some point in the story, Doctor and Rose will find Beep the Meep, or the story may focus on them trying to bring Beep the Meep to the Wrath Warriors. Now, that's a loose idea of how I think the story's going to go. I don't know a whole lot about the original comic book story besides a basic synopsis, so that's as much as I've managed to speculate, and it's also possible that this could differ quite a lot from the original comic book story, if it is even based on that in the first place, which I personally think it will be. So, after a cryptic message was posted on Instagram by Russell T Davies, Neil Patrick Harris was announced as playing a villain in the 60th anniversary special of Doctor Who. Now, this would have been quite a surprise if I hadn't already seen It's a Sin, which is by Russell T Davies and also stars Neil Patrick Harris. But this is still quite a big get for Doctor Who. I'm still quite surprised to see him announced to be playing a part in this show. But with all that being said, we don't actually know exactly who he's playing yet. So this video is going to go over a few options, those being a new character, the Valeyard, or the Celestial Toymaker. If you have any other ideas of who you think he's going to play, let me know in the comments down below. So the first possibility I'm going to talk about is that Neil Patrick Harris might be playing a new character. I do think this is the least likely option, but I do think it's still a possibility. Now, I don't have much to go on with this because obviously if he's a new character, we're not going to know much about him already. But I think there's a strong possibility that if he is playing a new character, this character could be a Time Lord, as some of the set photos show scenes that were being filmed that appear to be set in around the 1920s, maybe 30s, which could suggest that this character is able to time travel, because I believe a lot of the shots are also in modern day. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean he is a Time Lord, he might just be able to time travel. It's also possible, if this is a new character, his name could be something like Mr. Emporium, because that's the name of the shop that he appears to be working out of, or at least part of the episode is going to be set in. So obviously it's also possible that Neil Patrick Harris might be playing a character that we've seen before in the show. The first of these I'm going to talk about is the Valeyard. For those who don't know who the Valeyard is, he appeared in the Trial of a Time Lord storyline in the 1980s, and he is said to be an amalgamation of the Doctor's darker side, somewhere between his 12th and final incarnation. Now, I'd like to put emphasis on the word final, because it doesn't say his 12th and 13th incarnation. And obviously, as we know, the Doctor has either been granted another regeneration cycle or an unspecified number of regenerations, or with the Timeless Child arc, the Doctor has maybe always had unlimited regenerations this whole time. So it doesn't mean that it has to fall in between the 12th and 13th incarnations of the Doctor, which obviously we've already surpassed that limit. Now, if there is something going wrong with the Doctor's regenerations, which the Doctor degenerating into the David Tennant's incarnation suggests that that could be the case, then that would make it a lot more likely that this could be the Valeyard, and maybe whatever is going wrong with the Doctor's regeneration could have caused a splinter in his regeneration, creating the Valeyard, and so this storyline could be a possible Valeyard origin story of sorts. Now, I think that would be really cool. I personally haven't seen the stories that the Valeyard is in, but I do find him a very interesting character, and I think there is a lot they could do with that if this is the Valeyard. And if not, I'd still love to see the Valeyard come back at some point. Now, the final and what seems to be the most likely option is that Neil Patrick Harris is playing the Celestial Toymaker. Now, once again, I don't know a whole lot about the Celestial Toymaker, but he was a villain from the 1960s who ensnared sentient beings into seemingly childish games, but he hated to lose, so he rigged the games in his favour. Now, there's been a few hints that this might be the case, the first of which is the costume he's wearing in his announcement photo, which is different to what we've seen him wearing on set, but is definitely definitely from the filming of this show, or at least something to do with maybe some test footage or costume tests. This costume does look very much like a Toymaker, so this heavily hints that he may be the Celestial Toymaker. As well as this, there is a sign in the Mr. Emporium set, or what seems to be the Mr. Emporium set, that says something along the lines of world's best Toymaker. It has the word Toymaker in it, so that obviously once again hints more at the fact that this could be the Toymaker. As well as this, before Neil Patrick Harris was even announced as playing a character in the show, there had been some circus posters spotted on set, and these posters have once again been spotted on set during Neil Patrick Harris filming the show, and this imagery is very synonymous with the Celestial Toymaker. As well as this, these circus posters also feature a December date on them, which has led some people to believe that this is more evidence that we may be getting a Christmas special this year. But if you want to hear more about that, I've talked about that in a previous video. And another hint that this could be the Celestial Toymaker is the cryptic message that was used to hint Neil Patrick Harris's announcement has a diamond in it. Now, it's absolutely possible that this is just to signify a 60th anniversary, and that's personally what I think it is. But the Celestial Toymaker is also known as the Crystal Guardian in some cases, and is a guardian of time, similar to the black and white guardians from the classic era. So this diamond emoji may be there to signify the Crystal Guardian, which is just another hint that this could be the Celestial Toymaker. So it's possible that this Mr. Emporium name may be a pseudonym that the Celestial Toymaker is taking on, or it's just the name of a shop that he's maybe taken over or started working in, pretending to be a human or something like that. But these announcements just beg the question, how is this linked to some of the stuff we've seen before, for example with Beep the Meep, which I've talked about in a previous video. Now, it's absolutely possible that this story is just going to be separate from that, with the only through line between these 2 or 3 60th anniversary specials being the Doctor figuring out why they've got David Tennant's face back. But Jude, aka Pig and Tea Break on Twitter, suggests that the Toymaker may be responsible for Beep the Meep and the Wrath Warriors, which could explain why characters such as Beep the Meep look a bit wacky and look kind of like plush toys, as they may actually be toys that the Toymaker has brought to life to send the Doctor on some kind of wild goose chase, or just to distract him from something. I can almost imagine a scene in my head where the Doctor, after dealing with Beep the Meep and the Wrath Warriors, comes across the Celestial Toymaker and meets him in this Mr. Emporium shop, only to find toys of Beep the Meep and the Wrath Warriors in the store with him, where he puts the pieces together and finds out that the Celestial Toymaker was responsible for them the whole time. Now, these are just a few ideas of who I think Neil Patrick Harris could be playing. It could be absolutely none of these, and it may be something more similar to the new character that I discussed at the start, but I know a lot of people at the moment are leaning to it being the Celestial Toymaker, and I am personally in that boat. As well as all this information, we've also recently had some alleged leaks from the studio filming of Doctor Who, which is currently taking place, or has just taken place, which alleges that Ncuti is currently filming Doctor Who in the studio, and is filming scenes with David Tennant, allegedly with 2 TARDISes on set. If you want to know exactly what has been alleged for this studio filming, you can pause the video and read this here. But for me personally, I don't know how true I think this is, because I'm pretty certain Ncuti is in LA right now filming for the Barbie movie, so I find it quite unlikely that he's also come back to Cardiff or wherever it is that they're doing the studio filming to film for Doctor Who. Now, it doesn't mean I don't think he's going to be in the 60th at all. That's absolutely possible. I just personally don't think he's filming for it right now. As part of this studio filming, we've also seen an image, and no, I haven't actually blurred this one, this is just how it looks, which allegedly shows Mel from the classic era, as well as a character in a wheelchair who's allegedly being played by Ruth Madley. And we've also been told that the TARDIS is allegedly becoming more accessible for disabled characters. Now, for me personally, I think this could just be Wilf and Donna, but it is very difficult to tell because, like I said, the image was just this blurry when it got posted. And the final bit of information we've got since these videos is we've had a couple of new directors confirmed who are going to be directing episodes in the 60th anniversary special. So that's it. Right now, that is everything we know about the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. If you enjoyed these videos, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to watch more, YouTube thinks you might like this video here.